beautiful friends. Welcome back to 365 Days of Love and Miracles with A Course in Miracles. My name is Arlene Geres, and I'm so glad that you are here. Please remember to stay right until the very end because we'll have a special treat for you. And if you enjoyed today's video, please remember to click the like button below and subscribe because that helps other people to find us on YouTube. Today's lesson is lesson 12. I'm upset because I see a meaningless world. Now we can really see how these lessons are building on each other, taking us to an ever-deepening understanding. We're still working on our foundation, but we're going to put a couple more bricks into it today. Let's go back a couple of lessons to see how this works. Lesson 10 told us, my thoughts do not mean anything. This was our first awareness that our thinking determines our reality. Lesson 11 told us, my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. That was a harsh pill to swallow, to think that I actually am thinking about nothing when I'm thinking about the thoughts of this world. The only time that I'm actually thinking at all is when I'm thinking with God. I know that doesn't make very much sense. But if what we're thinking about does not exist, then the Course tells us that we are actually thinking about nothing. Let's read the lesson today. The importance of this idea lies in the fact that it contains a correction for a major perceptual distortion. You think that what upsets you is a frightening world, or a sad world, or a violent world, or an insane world. All these attributes are given it by you. The world is meaningless in itself. Let's talk about this section. I hope you're not upset by a windy world. It's been quite stormy here the last few days, but today is a nice sunny one. We still have quite a bit of wind. We define the world. We have been talking about that now for almost 2 weeks. It is what we are perceiving already in our minds, and then we project that out onto the world. And what we tend to do is we sort things into good and bad. So we have these essentially two piles, and I don't know about you, but up until I discovered A Course in Miracles, I just wanted to totally ignore the bad, push it away, pretend it doesn't exist. I sought after what I saw as good and just tried to get more of it. That doesn't work very well. Our lessons are going to help us to see that more and more clearly. There is no good and bad. It just is. Our thinking is what makes it good or bad. But in and of itself, nothing is good or bad. Let's read on. These exercises are done with eyes open. Look around you, this time quite slowly. Try to pace yourself so that the slow shifting of your glance from one thing to another involves a fairly consistent time interval. Do not allow the time of the shift to become markedly longer or shorter, but try instead to keep a measured, even tempo throughout. What you see does not matter. You teach yourself this as you give whatever your glance rests on equal attention and equal time. This is a beginning step in learning to give them all equal value. Let's talk about this section. Because they are all, in fact, equal. It is just that this lesson is teaching us how to see that there is no inherent value in anything that we see in this world. Back to the reading. As you look about, say to yourself, I think I see a fearful world, a dangerous world, a hostile world, a sad world, a wicked world, a crazy world, and so on, using whatever descriptive terms happen to occur to you. If terms which seem positive rather than negative occur to you, include them. For example, you might think of a good world or a satisfying world. If such terms occur to you, use them along with the rest. You may not understand why these nice adjectives belong in this exercise. Remember that a good world implies a bad one, and a satisfying world implies an unsatisfying one. All terms which cross your mind are suitable subjects for today's exercises. Their seeming quality does not matter. Let's talk about this section. If we see bad, then we see good. And the opposite is also true. If we see good, we also see bad. This is called seeing the world of duality, of opposites. This is certainly how we have been taught since we were young children. We're taught about opposites, probably grade 1 or 2, but they actually do not exist in God's world. Everything is of God. Everything is part of God's creation. None of it is good or bad in and of itself. Back to the reading. Be sure that you do not alter the time intervals between applying today's idea to what you think is pleasant and what you think is unpleasant. For the purposes of these exercises, there is no difference between them. At the end of the practice period, add, "But I am upset because I see a meaningless world." What is meaningless is neither good nor bad. Why then should a meaningless world upset you? If you could accept the world as meaningless and let the truth be written upon it for you, it would make you indescribably happy. But because it is meaningless, you are impelled to write upon it. It is this you see in it. It is this that is meaningless in truth. Beneath your words is written the word of God. The truth upsets you now, but when your words have been erased, you will see His. That is the ultimate purpose of these exercises. Let's talk about this section. I want you to just imagine a blackboard or a whiteboard, and you have written all over it. Maybe you've written, "I love so-and-so, I hate so-and-so, rain is good, snow is bad." I'm sure you can come up with your own ideas. You've written all over this blackboard. This represents the thinking that goes on in our minds all the time. I go around in circles. That's the hamster wheel that sometimes runs around in my mind. We can get stuck on thoughts of the past, things that we wish we had done differently, things that we wish that other people had done differently, or we can project into the future or what we hope will happen. This will cause us anxiety because we're worried that what we hope will happen won't happen, or what we are afraid of might happen. So here we have all this scribbling. It's just messy and it's upsetting and distressing. But when we're looking at that, we recognize that it actually doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless because it's crazy thinking. Now, I want you to imagine that behind all of that is God's handwriting. God's handwriting is, "Come to me, I love you. Come and join in the oneness of all creation and have nothing but peace and joy." That is what is underneath that scribbled mess. We're invited in today's lesson to take our magic eraser, erase it all, and only read God's thoughts. We're going to gain a greater understanding of those thoughts as we go along through the course. Let's finish the reading. 3 or 4 times is enough for practicing the idea for today, nor should the practice periods exceed a minute. You may find even this too long. Terminate the exercises whenever you experience a sense of strain. Let's talk about this section. In addition to our morning practice, our evening practice, we want to put in at least 1 or 2 additional practice periods. I like to do these at lunch and dinner time, just because it's easier for me to remember. But you can establish these practice periods to be whatever works for you. Remember, it only takes a couple minutes to read today's lesson, to just review the mantra, "I am upset because I see a meaningless world." Meditate on it for a few minutes. Recognize that what we see here is meaningless if we are putting our meaning onto it. Again, this lesson is calling us into a state of mindfulness, of just noticing, not thinking good, bad, pretty, ugly, none of that. Just noticing, appreciating, and enjoying. Are you ready for our special treat? I hope that you were able to watch today's video and just enjoy it without needing to add your own meaning to it. Have an absolutely awesome day, everyone. I love you.